A lot of people like to criticize the exception process because they say school districts all file for exceptions and they're going to raise way above the index. Well, in my estimation, the smart thing to do is to give yourself that option. This is you can file for them and not use them, and that's what most districts do. Now again, this current chaos, I guess I should say, in Harrisburg in terms of state budget suggests that, without knowing it, that districts would have been much better off to consider exceptions than they didn't, because now here we are, 9 months later, with still no budget. But you get a lot of filing for those at the index, and pretty much the norm has become districts going to the index as opposed to going to exceptions. Because here's the other side of the story on exceptions. You'll see those numbers point to the amount of referendum exceptions. These are dollar amounts. So you'll see in 14-15, for example, only 32.4% of the exceptions that were filed for were actually used. So you can file for them and not use them. And sometimes I believe the old adage about better to have them than not need them than to need them and not have them works, because your deadline has come and gone on that. The number of school districts you'll see over there, that shows you what percent of the school districts have used exceptions. But again, not nearly the amount that they filed for. It just protects your situation. Okay, now we're going to switch gears a little bit. And I know these charts are hard to read, and they have a lot of data on them. So without apology, let me just try to explain some of these. We created a snapshot of districts that we think have a lot of similarities to your own. So this is Butler area. I presume most people have an idea where Butler is. You probably don't know the rest of these. All right, Central York, not surprisingly, is in York County, just south of Harrisburg. It's not too far from Dallastown. Again, suburban districts, some level of local wealth versus poverty. This Hempfield district is in Lancaster County. So is Manheim Township School District. Here's Mill Creek. West Shore School District is the west shore of Harrisburg, across Susquehanna River. And this is Wilson School District in Berks County. All right, so what we're trying to show here is we took districts that were similar in your size, so enrollment. So this is your average daily membership numbers we talked about. So in Mill Creek, here you are 7995. You've had a slight decline to 7,210. So the largest district here would be West Shore at 7,900. The smallest in here would be looks like Manheim Township in here. Okay. So then we used a measure of poverty, or on the flip side, wealth, to look at what the demographics were of the district. So these numbers show you what the free and reduced lunch percentage would be in all of these districts. So those are the two barometers that we attempted to use in terms of establishing some parameters to do some comparisons. So these are districts of a similar size and of a similar number of students in free and reduced lunch. Okay, so this shows you spending. Okay, and this is something called current expense. That's accounting code for operations. No debt, no capital, operations. So that 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 slide we showed you before. All right, so here's your expense divided by your students, and you'll see these numbers over here. So here's the average. That's 11,000 and some dollars. Let's look where Mill Creek is. They're slightly below average, or right on the average amount. You'll see this line, this gray line here, is those above the median, above the average. That would be these three districts, Hempfield, Dallastown, and Wilson. and all the districts here are below the average. So that gives you an idea of what your expenses are compared to districts of a similar nature. Again, I know it's not easy to read. All right, so let's look at those same districts, comparing Mill Creek to those same set of districts. This shows you where, let's see if I can get this over here. This is your revenue per student coming in. So this would show you, again, sort of the flip side of spending, where your revenue sources are. So again, this line down through here represents average. So you, West Shore, and Butler are all below average there as well. And usually, when you see property taxes as a percent of total revenue per average daily membership, that sort of shows you where your tax burden, not clearly, not unequivocally, but it gives you an indicator of where your tax burden is. All right, even harder to read. This is staffing, because we talked about the percentage of your entire budget made up of personnel costs. So right in here is Mill Creek. So this shows you years, 10 through 14. And these white numbers down here show all the districts in terms of their FTE equivalents, full-time employees. That's how that's measured. This number up here shows the relationship of your FTEs and your students. So in this case, because your number of employees has gone down, the relationship of students to staff has gone up. Okay? So less employees, same number of students, so less employees have to serve more students. So you'll see here, you compare quite well. In fact, you may be the highest on this chart in year 2014. So that's less, slightly less, less, less. Manheim Township, 13.8. Okay, so you would be equal. Manheim Township and Mill Creek Township would be equal in terms of the relationship of students to staff. Now, that's not in the classroom. It's not that granular. Total FTEs, total students. Okay. So, let me finish with another discussion. I talked earlier about the school funding system being broken. Just want to show you, hopefully, what will be past history, and that will have some future history to move forward to. This is a quote by Dr. William Hartman. He's at the Department of Educational Administration at Penn State University. Pennsylvania school funding decisions are made on an ad hoc basis for the purposes of targeting additional funding, changing annually depending on transient administrative legislative priorities, etc. Which means we have no predictability, we have no consistency, and basically said another way, we make it up as we go along. This is back to 13-14. So this is the state budget. So we took dollar amounts, had $100 million, and so this is how it got divvied up with all these supplements artificially created. They were designed to send money to specific districts. So it doesn't say we're going to send money to Reading School District there or Allentown School District, but if you read all the fine print associated with that category, it would pinpoint a district or two or three. And that's how it's done. They'll never say specific school district. They'll just run all these parameters. And so you had, starting right here, you had 5 in this category, but this was 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3. And I'd be pretty sure, without guessing too much, Mill Creek's not any of these. So you weren't targeted to get any specific money for a variety of reasons. But mostly, this is a statement that it really depended upon